So good afternoon. Thank you for joining us and apologies for the delay. We had some technical issues, which of course never fail to crop up at the last minute. And thank you for joining our fourth webinar in our Maritime series, Talks with the Industry. And today, of course, we are focusing on the superyacht industry. And we wished to really round off the year by giving you some insights from some of our very distinguished speakers who are very, very happy and proud to have with us today. I think that I should tell you that Sam Tucker, who was one of our panelists, unfortunately came down ill this morning. So we're very sorry to miss him. Hopefully we'll have him for the next that we will be organizing undoubtedly next year. And I would like to introduce Ennio Buonomo from Codecasa, who is based in Viareggio, of course, the hub for the superyacht industry, and Rob Dolling from Verpeka Dolling Brokerage. Thank you, Rob, for joining us from Monaco. We also have my colleague Matthew Cassar from our Ship Registration and Ship Finance Department, who will give us some information on what is happening at the Malta end. So I think that there's no doubt that the superyacht market has been flourishing over the past months. And everywhere we read on industry reports, there are reports of unprecedented brokerage sales. There are reports about full order books up until 2025, with some reports even saying that shipyards are full until 2027. The Superyacht Group has reported that sales for superyachts over 100 feet rose by 8% in the first 9 months of 2021 compared to 2019. And it seems that we are facing unprecedented times. It is also a fact that Cannes and Monaco, boat shows, which we were very fortunate as an industry to have been able to attend this year, were successes. So everyone was reporting how the industry is flourishing. Malta has reflected also this increase. We have seen a 7% increase in registrations in 2010. I don't have the full figures as at the end of 2021, but at the moment we have 206 yachts over 24 meters registered privately and 553 registered commercially. So definitely that has seen quite a substantial increase. So is it all rosy, and can we expect this to last? And also, are there any disadvantages of having this climate around us? I think that those are questions which, now that the initial flurry of activity has subsided, we are starting to face. And with this in mind, I would like, and of course, without being pessimistic, but in order to paint a realistic picture, this is the reason why we wanted really to put some questions to our speakers. And I would like to start, if I may, with Ennio. Ennio, thank you again for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
And Ennio, I mean, you are, as I said, the hub of the building sector and the hub for the superyacht build sector in Viareggio, and you of course head one of the most prestigious shipyards in Italy. And my question to you is, how did the pandemic affect you initially as of 2019? Can you share with us perhaps on how the various entities of the Codecasa group were affected and how they reacted?
As everybody, the COVID affected a lot in our life, in our job. I'm sorry, I'm going to read because, as you know, my English is not so good. So Sabrina prepared for me just a way to reply to your question. I can confirm that the past 2 years have been extremely challenging for everybody, from any point of view, anywhere in the world. The way we are used to live, to work, to socialize, even to think, has been completely shaken up and transformed. Good English. The COVID pandemic is to be considered as an aqua bridge between past and future. This is also the truth, because the world is different. Also the way that we have to talk now, is different for everybody. It's not over yet. We don't know when it will finish. We just know that this virus is still there, that it's changing and adapting itself, and that maybe is teaching us to do the same with our life, with our habits, with our charities. In February 2020, something unknown and unexpected and unmanageable came in to change the cards on the table. Its effect on all economic and manufacturing sectors have been highly destructive. The yachting industry has not been spared. Our yacht has been closed for a couple of months, from March 2020 till May 2020. Our previous production plants became tons of waste paper. We simply knew that we have to do something to protect our people, every company, our asset, and our families. In May 2020, we came back to work. Quite frightened, the common goal of recovery was wasted time. Thanks to our people and our subcontractors and suppliers' best efforts, we managed to complete and successfully deliver the new Codecasa 55 we were working on before the spread of the pandemic. In the same time, we resumed the construction of the Codecasa 56, which was delivered last July 2021. So it was not easy to recover the situation. Not easy for us, not easy for you as well.
Thank you, Ennio. Hello, Anthony. Glad you were seeing.
Hello. Hi, Alison.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
No, sorry. That was also on my side.
No, nice to have you. Thank you so much. So we're just starting. So we were just asking Ennio what the issues have been at their shipyard in Viareggio, of course, how the pandemic has affected them. And Ennio, can you give us some, without maybe exposing any secrets, can you tell us at the moment what the current situation is with your order books? What are the trends at the moment?
The trends, as you know, as you mentioned before, talking about the recent boat show, is very, very positive. It looks tremendous, the demands. The problem is to build the boat, because now the materials, the people, the workers, the suppliers are in trouble, because it's not so easy. Yeah. I never saw something like this. Everybody knows what's happening. And talking with us is difficult because, as you know, everybody knows we are a strange company, because despite the booming, we don't want to boom as well. We don't want to become too big. We keep our schedule. We keep building 1, maximum 2 yachts, big yachts, every year, no more. Otherwise, we have to change our attitude, our philosophy, our way to life, and also our relation with the clients. We have a daily relation with clients. Building this boat, we have to stay with the clients, take care of them, and take care of their demands. If you want something more effective, I can read again what the people prepare for me.
Whatever makes you comfortable, as you wish.
I want to share with you what I share with my colleague here, just to be more precise, because I understand we are also recording what you are saying, so I don't want to say something unusual.
Okay.
As I was saying, in spite of the inconveniences and delays that the pandemic has been causing and is still causing, we succeed in fulfilling our contract obligations. And since the spread of the COVID, the Codecasa 55 and the Codecasa 56 has been successfully delivered to 2 repeat clients of our yacht. I think that it was possible thanks to the special structure and organization of our company. Our yacht is known in the maritime industry for its yearly limited production of yachts. We build totally bespoke luxury yachts ranging from 24 up to 72 meters, but we don't have an industrial or mass production, and we just deliver one, maximum 2 yachts per year. This is a quite unusual production model in our big industry in these days, but certainly it helped us overcome the hard times that we have experienced in the last 2 years, fulfilling the demands and the requirements of our clients without compromising the quality of our products and managing the effects and the inevitable delay caused by the pandemic. On the other side, I see that the yachts market is extremely blooming in this period. Our order book is full. We continuously receive inquiries for new yachts or refit works on existing yachts. Today, for example, we have 2 yachts under construction, a new 43, the 5th exemplar of, this is marketing, the 5th exemplar of a successful series of yachts which was presented 10 years ago, should be delivered in summer 2022. At the same time, we are building a new Codecasa 58, a very innovative project with high performances and able to reach the top speed of 21 knots. She is due for delivery in summer 2023. In summer 2023, we also delivered the newborn in our company, the Codecasa Gentleman 24 meters, sold to a client from Far East. Another Codecasa 33 meters, still belonging to a Gentleman series, is scheduled for delivery in 2024. Let's say that we will be quite busy in the next 3 years. Generally speaking, statistics reports that these are flourish years for the yacht industry, with top records in yacht sales and unprecedented increased demand in yacht investment. Our order book confirms this trend. Traveling around the world has become more and more difficult and dangerous. I am under the impression that for many high net worth individuals, the yacht is now a safe place, a private and nurturing environment to enjoy their freedom without compromising their safety. Rather than being something to impress other people, now a yacht is an intimate retreat where you can live for months protected from the risk due to the pandemic. Many of our clients, for example, have cared to implement a fully equipped and operational office on board, from where they can work and follow their business in total comfort and safety.
Thank you. Thank you, Ennio. And you also answered my last question, which was what you see to be the future. And I think the answer is that you will be busy, of course, within the models that you have explained. And I would now like to move to Rob, if I may. Rob, you have been in the industry for many years, and your practice crosses, right, from brokerage, sales and purchase, chartering, management, etc. I would like your perspective of how the brokerage trends you are seeing at the moment. Everything is booming, as we said last time, and we said this morning, but in our chat recently, you were also explaining that there have been some very unusual points that are arising out of this boom in activity, which might not be that positive. So if you could just share that with us, please.
I mean, it's positive for everyone. I mean, more business is always good, but it's come in such a huge avalanche that it becomes a bit chaotic. There's obviously the sustainability side of it, which is partially going to be dictated by inventory. As Ennio said, I mean, the yards have got full order books for quite some years to come. And you may notice some of the commercial shipbuilders are now trying to put their hand to building super yachts, you know, in order to try and take advantage of what's going on now and fill the vacuum. And no doubt they'll get some orders. So yeah, that's going to be an issue. One negative issue I've seen in recent times, especially in the last 6 months, is some elevation in vessels value, which I find artificially inflated. And unfortunately, some clients are so desperate to get their hands on vessels, they're paying these prices, not with regards to new builds, but on the used brokerage market. Sometimes it's made it difficult or a little odd when you're dealing with clients. Their criteria has completely changed. What their budget, what has changed, what their criteria was regarding size, styles, amenities, that's changed as well, radically. What they were looking for 2 years ago, they've put and committed and gone to contract on something that is nothing to do with what they were looking for, because they're just tripping over themselves to get a vessel. I mean, the terms that have driven this big boom have been you know, different. So yeah, it's been an interesting time recently.
Yes, I mean, as I told you when we had a pre-webinar chat, I was very surprised to hear these sort of comments as to what the downside would be, you know, because it's very easy to be blinded by the initial activity. You were also mentioning, you know, a dried up inventory, because there has also been a change in owners' requirements, and those that had been on the inventory for a long time actually being snapped up. So
Yeah.
I think that's quite the other side, you know, to looking at all of this.
Yeah, and they're buying boats that they wouldn't have normally purchased, and sometimes at an inflated value. And of course, this down the line, they'll probably suffer, you know, at the time when it comes to resale. But you know, this is a pure case of supply and demand. We just had to adjust to it. You know, even, you know, our specialist is really 30 to 100 meter in our company, but we have the occasional order for smaller boats, and we found even these in the large productions, like, you know, the small azimuths or sunseekers, these sort of things, you can't find anything for, you know, until 2024 or something. And this is almost unheard of with the amount of inventory they produce each year. And even these guys are backed up. So it's really, you know, it's crazy times.
Do you think, from your experience, I know it's not an easy question, but do you see this lasting? How do you see it pan out? Of course, it's demand and supply, but how do you see the trend going, say, over the next couple of months?
Oh, I think for sure in the short term, it's going to continue. I mean, the people that are driving this are different. They come from different walks of life. Some are, you know, there's a lot of ultra high net worth people generated or produced in the last couple of years during the pandemic. And these are some of the customers, you know, first time buyers. But there's also a huge amount of, and especially in our case, in my personal experience, it's guys that have been looking at boats for the last 2 years or longer, and they never commit, and now they're committing. So you know, this is, at the moment, it's really inventory driven. There's still inventory out there, but the choices are really diminished from, you know, 10 months ago, 12 months ago.
Okay. So once we have you with us today, I wanted to ask you also about another role that you occupy, and it's also how we met, I must say, which is the MYBA forum. And of course, you chair the legal committee with the MYBA, which I know for a fact has served a very important purpose throughout the pandemic in reacting to the very unusual circumstances. I mean, one perfect example is the COVID addendum that was drafted up pretty quickly to the charter agreements. Could you, Rob, just give us an idea of MYBA's role in these times? and how it can be of assistance to its members?
I mean, MYBA is a very central figure or association within the industry worldwide. We fulfill a number of roles. I've chaired the Tax and Law Committee for the last 2 years. You know, ironically enough, or coincidentally enough, this was, you know, I became on the board pretty much when the pandemic was just getting started. So yeah, I got to, yeah, it was dropped in at the deep end. So we had a lot to do, because that second quarter of 2020, there's a lot of disinformation going around with regards to what you could and couldn't do, where you couldn't go, cruising, you know, countries, borders closures, which seas you could navigate in. There's so many unanswered questions. So we sort of circled the wagons with our legal consortium, and you know, we have members from most EU countries, you know, Malta obviously with your good self, Italy, France, Monaco, Spain, Croatia, Greece, Turkey, and they independently gave us all the information that we put it together in one central source that really laid out what you could and couldn't do, because this was critical to trying to salvage the charter season that summer, because you know, everyone was on lockdown, no one knew what to do, and of course contractually no one really had addressed a global pandemic, so something had to be done. So while I was involved in the tax and law side of it with regards to movement and countries regulations, our charter committee, you know, took on putting a COVID addendum together for the people that hadn't already put something in place, because of course it's very case specific. Every charter details are different, so these you never use the same charter addendum. But we put together, or the charter committee at MYBA put together a very good framework that could be used as a bones for the necessary addendums, because it was really going crazy. I mean, every day something was changing. People really wanted to commit and make their charters, but it was either due to default on the client side or the vessel side or the owner's side due to some COVID related reasons. So it was very fast moving that second quarter.
Okay, thank you very much, Rob, for your comments. I think you covered quite a lot of ground. So thanks so much for that. So turning to the serious stuff and turning to the financing world, Anthony, you obviously, Societe Generale operates in a very specific niche market. And with that in mind, I mean, we have as well read about reports and an uptake in building of very large vessels, and an increase also in the contracted size of vessels. Because, I mean, I've read about not only new entrants to the market, but also current owners or seasoned charterers who finally take the plunge and either upgrade or go for quite a large vessel as a first-time buyer. So my question to you is, can you share with us the trends you have noted in the type and range of inquiries? And has there been any difference post-pandemic as compared to pre-pandemic, or has nothing changed?
Sure. No, sure. I think you're perfectly right, Alison, in what you say, and I also appreciate what Rob was mentioning, and I will get back to. I mean, I fully agree with him, and I will get back. I will get back to it. We saw pretty much two different I would say client profile over the last 12-18 months. We saw the new entrants to the market that were not existent before to the yachting industry, and when the I would say the standard route before was buying a 30, 35, 40 meter vessel and then stepping up every 2 to 3 years. We saw big new entrants on the market, straight to 70, 75 meters, 80 meters. So it's I think it's a good sign. It's a good sign. They need a bit more education. So I think all the professionals of the industry are
very brave to go from 0 to 75.
Absolutely. I think as an owner, you need to be quite brave. Yeah. And so So of course we took them through a bit more, I would say, education on the finance aspect and on everything which which is around, and they were like, most of them were well surrounded already. So I think the industry is for this, the industry is really has really good professional. So we also saw the, as you did mention, the seasonal owners. I mean, the one going to the step up. So we saw that, and some of our existing owners have committed to new build projects during the last 12 to 24 months. So it's a good sign as well, and this is also the reason for the order book of the shipyard quite full, as Ennio mentioned. And I would say that the main difference we had over the last 12-18 months is that we, from 2011 2012 to 2018-19, we saw that the dynamic was really strong in Northern Europe. There was also a strong dynamic in Italy, but it was I would say slightly less. But today we see Italy is booming, Turkish shipyards are booming, everyone is booming. So we are carefully looking at all the situation and all the requests, of course, and we are pleased to work with all the shipyards. As long as we can of course assess all the risk part when it comes to building construction.
Ennio has competition. He has to be careful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say that some things that we saw more as well, pretty much most of the, if I have to put figures, we do finance, let's say, 50% of new build and 50% of second hands. Okay. We used to have always, in the 50% of second hand, we used to have always what we called refinancing or equity release. It means that when the buyer will pay the boat cash, then it comes 1 year, 2 years after to get some equity out of the vessel, because he wants to invest in something else, he wants to diversify. So we clearly saw a trend that over the last 12 months was higher in that sense. Let's say that the amount of requests we received to get some refinancing was more 35%, 40% of the request, which is justified by two things. The first is that the interest rates are still quite low. I mean, the environment of interest rate is very low. And also I would say that the financial markets plus the opportunities in terms of investments on other markets which are not especially listed were also, I think, one of the reasons. Most of the clients were coming and say, well, I put 20 million in my boat. What can you do? What can you offer? And I want to invest, let's say, out of the 20 million, I want to get 5-10 million to invest in something else, in another asset. So this is really what we saw. And what I would say on the other side, and there is a downside to that, is that we are quite careful. And as Rob mentioned, we saw over the last 12 months some, I won't say it's strange, but I would say some surprising figures when boat taking values, second-hand boat taking values, are not depreciating. I can understand when a boat, because of the market being quite dynamic, the boat not depreciating from 2020 to 2021. But we saw some assessment where, because the market in a range of size was so dynamic, that the boat was maybe more appealing and could have been sold higher than what it would have been sold in 2020. So we are, for a bank, it's a bit something which is of course sensitive. So this is what we are currently really focusing on, everything about the valuation and what will be 2022 with all of that, because deliveries will be quite full, and we hope that the second-hand market will remain dynamic for all the profession, because it's I mean, we had a very, very good year as a bank, and I think the market as well.
So very, very interesting points, Anthony. And I think all of you are sort of agreeing on what's happening, but we are getting some insights into what professionals like yourselves who are focused on your fields can share with us. So thank you so much for that. One other question I wanted to put to you, Anthony, which you can't have a webinar on superyachts without mentioning sustainability. So it always interested me how the world of sustainability and being conscious of the environment ties up with super yachts and of course financing. And I know that this is a subject which you follow very closely, and I was wondering if you could just explain to us the interplay between the two subjects and also any action that's being taken by Société Générale in that direction.
Sure. No, sure. I mean, it's again, the COVID situation has, I think we discussed that during the Monaco Yacht Show, but the COVID situation has put the light, which was already, I would say, a primary topic, a primary concern in terms of development, the sustainability aspect for the industry. But the COVID has really accelerated the path. And on the other side, so there's two things that we do see. The first one is the positive aspect. I think what happened in the shipping industry, if we take that as an example, more than 2 years ago, few institutions have signed the Poseidon Principles. So the good thing is that it sets, I would say, the benchmark for a bank to be responsible in the maritime industry. It's really good because we have to take as part of the yachting industry, we have to take an example on that. The banks that have signed the Poseidon Principle have taken commitments to reduce the carbon print of the portfolio of the ships and everything. So we should also take an example towards that. What we do indirectly is that because we do focus on recent vessel, mostly, I mean, we are keen to finance up to 10 years old, but let's say when we have a vessel of 20, 25 years old, we have to always be careful, first because of the depreciation, and second because a vessel which is 20, 25 years old would not be as sustainable as a brand new vessel. So it starts to become, I would say, something that could refrain us to go on such a transaction. So we are basically looking carefully at that. We are of course also financing sailing boats, which is a big step for us because we are financing. I mean, the group Société Générale is financing a lot of boats up to 24 meters. We are one of the leaders in Southern Europe to finance small and medium-sized vessels, especially sailing boats, catamaran. But when it comes to super yachts, because of the liquidity of the market, which is a bit more, I would say, narrow on the sailing aspect, it was always a topic to say, shall we go and take a risk on a vessel which is a sailing boat of 50, 60 meters when you have probably very few sailing vessel of that size, and I'm glad to say that we took the step to do it and to move on to finance also some catamaran projects. So there were like some big catamaran project, some big sailing yacht project ongoing. So we are looking at this carefully, and the downside to that is that the industry needs to evolve in terms of transparency, because even if all the professional wants to move toward the sustainable path, first the owners, some of the owners are putting the sustainability at the high rank, but other will put maybe more the size and the speed of the vessel, and the sustainability maybe slightly below. So it needs a bit of education, and we need also transparency on the numbers. There is nothing today to really measure the impact in terms of carbon print of the yacht, to measure everything which is rejected in the atmosphere. I think it will come, and we are looking at it carefully, and SocGen has a real role to play into that. So when it comes to maritime, we are very invested, and then when it comes to all the industry, we are quite committed, because we stopped to finance all the carbon energy with too much carbon print. So, but this is something that we share with other big institutions as well in Europe, and the trend is ongoing, but we need to be careful to not step too much into the green bashing. I mean, we talked about it during the Monaco Yacht Show. The step is quite narrow between trying to put all the efforts necessary to have a more sustainable approach, and going into the green bashing. I think the border is quite narrow.
Yes, and I think over the next few years we'll be seeing which way the trend will go. I mean, definitely all the leading shipyards are taking a very strong stance. I can mention Oceanco, you know, and the leading yards are taking a very strong position in favor of.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we are. I mean, we are. It's good to also have a shipyard in the webinar speaking, because we the bank, compared to what could happen in the past in some industry, I think for the yachting industry, the bank will not drive the shipyard's policy in terms of sustainability. This has to be the contrary, but we have to work in hands. I mean, because the bank are not are not technical experts and are not professional on what is feasible, what is not feasible. Today, as Ennio mentioned, there are like stocks problem issues to build yachts. So, you know, we need to be careful, and we need to also drive the market altogether. So the bank will not say we don't finance any more yachts because they are not sustainable. I don't see that happening. But we will be, you know, we will implement guidelines in line with the shipyard, and I think we need to keep the discussion quite open on that aspect.
I agree. That has to be a sort of a very harmonized approach. But I think that the industry is very large, but it's small enough to bring together the different players.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
Thank you to you, Alison.
Thank you. So now Matthew, who has been patiently waiting. Matthew, I must say as well, is slightly unwell today. So a special thank you for making the effort to join us. Matthew is one of our associates within our ship registration and ship finance department, and he is very passionate about the subject. So we really wanted to share, Matthew, perhaps give our audience a brief overview of the main transactions. It ties up perfectly with what Anthony was discussing. So what have we been seeing in our ship finance and ship registration departments over the past few months?
Thank you, Alison. Indeed, I must apologize for my voice, which might come and go as we get along.
We appreciate the effort. It's okay.
Thank you. First of all, this discussion has been really, really interesting, and to see what's going on in the industry has been very, very interesting. Well, in Malta, in terms of, you know, the market realities with the booming of the industry as a whole, the registry has seen a year-on-year increase in terms of the number of registered yachts. Indeed, Alison, you've mentioned this already. During 2020 alone, we saw 7% increase in the number of registered yachts. And over the last 5 years, there's been an increase of around 50% in terms of super yachts. And the Maltese flag is one of the largest in terms of commercial yachts. The truth is, this comes as no surprise. The Maltese registry is continuing to optimize its key attractive features. And I think the epitome of Malta's ambition to attract yachting tonnage is that it has assigned dedicated personnel, both from a technical and also from a registration point of view, to yachts. These are expert people dedicated to yachts. And the experience edge that Malta has, that it brings to the table, is undeniable. And the yachting industry has continued to react favorably to this. And if I may, I might just tackle a few of the key attractive features that the flag attracts. And chiefly among these, we find that a Malta registered flag may be registered in the name of an individual holding an EU, an EEA, Swiss, or an UK passport. Indeed, the law has been amended to allow UK nationals to register yachts in their name, following Brexit, of course, no longer part of the EU. And another advantage is that, you know, commercially licensed entities, bodies, irrespective of nationalities, can register a vessel, a yacht, in its name. Further, Malta has a number of fiscal advantages. These include the VAT guidelines, which have been amended with respect to the leasing of pleasure yachts, and also the tonnage tax scheme for commercial yachts. In a nutshell, a Maltese licensed entity which owns a Malta commercial yacht may be eligible to benefit from the tonnage tax regime. The tonnage tax regime provides for the payment of fixed tonnage dues, which are calculated according to the net tonnage and length of the yacht. Upon the payment of these tonnage tax fees and the annual registration fees, the Maltese licensed entity does not need to pay any income tax on dues arising from shipping activities. On the other hand, the VAT guidelines, whilst the general principle is that taxation is applicable in Malta, where the place of service is indeed Malta, the guidelines provide for an adjustment of VAT. The adjustment takes into consideration the actual use or enjoyment of the pleasure yacht within EU and non-European Union waters. And obviously enough, with the growth and the boom of the industry, as we have seen even through this webinar, with the boom in the registration, we've seen also a boom in the yacht finance industry. And the yacht finance industry, we've seen the general trend being the possibly what we term the vanilla type transactions, which you have one financier and one yacht owner, the financier acting as the lender and also the mortgagee, and the yacht owner acting as, of course, the owner and the mortgage.
The traditional financing setup.
Exactly, the typical setup. And in this case, obviously, the security document would have the mortgage, the Maltese mortgage, a very powerful document, and also the deed of covenants collateral there too. We've also seen an interesting recent trend with the sale and leaseback finance. This has provided yacht owners, with access, an efficient way to finance, and also access to their yachts through the leasing back of the yacht to the ultimate owner. Apologies. The basic structure involves the yacht being registered in the name of the financier, and then obviously bareboat chartered or chartered back to the ultimate owner. And the Malta registry, noting this in the increase in this type of financing, saw fit to amend its laws to allow for a dual registration. Through Article 19A, indeed, of the Merchant Shipping Act, the Maltese registry allows for the financier to be registered as yacht owner, and then operational certificates being issued in the name of the lessee, and also the several certificates issued by the Malta Flag in the name of the lessee, making matters, more easy for yacht owners to pursue both this financing and the registration with the Malta Flag. To conclude, the registry has always been dynamic to attract new yachts, but ultimately the yachting industry going through a very strong boom period. We really hope it's a prolonged period of market growth and not just, a flash in the pan, purple patch. And hopefully we augur continued success for all industry stakeholders across the board.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you so much for joining us. And thanks for giving an overview of what we're seeing in Malta. Of course, all that we have been discussing for us makes sense within the context of Maltese law and the services we offer. We have been very busy this year. We've seen a tremendous amount of transactions happening. Obviously, as lawyers, we tend to get roped in when we're lucky early on, when it's normal at the very end. So we've been kept pretty much on our toes. And we have also seen a tremendous amount of new build contracts being concluded this year. So 2022, 2023 will be interesting, busy years for us. We've also seen a lot of yachts being imported from outside Europe that are chartering in the Med, which as well perhaps is a reaction to not so many yachts being available on the market, but new people being interested in chartering. So that's another angle of the pandemic. And I could sit here and talk for hours, but I'm sure that my colleagues have more than covered all that I could ever say. I want to thank you for joining us, and it's really nice to see you all. I hope to see you in person very soon. And but if not, we'll certainly keep in touch. And thank you, Ennio, for your time. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Matthew. And I just thank you. I want to conclude by inviting Anne Fenech, who of course is very much the head of our marine litigation department and the brain behind the series of webinars we've been organizing this year. Since it's our last one, I think we should get some champagne now.
I know.
We didn't think of this.
No, we
before.
didn't. Well, there is a bottle in the fridge, so
Shall we
there's
get
nothing
it?
to stop us from getting it later. Thank you so much, Alison.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
for moderating this session. A big thank you to all our panelists today. Of course, our dear friends Ennio and Anthony and Rob. Unfortunately, Sam couldn't join us today. But the whole idea about me concluding this is really to thank our distinguished panelists today in this webinar on the superyacht industry, but also to really wrap up our series. Last year, or rather the year before, and every year before that, for many, many years, at Fenech and Fenech, we also always used to have a seminar, a maritime seminar. We at Fenech and Fenech are very privileged in being able to say that we have got a very diverse maritime practice. So we were always rather fortunate in being able to put up a seminar which delves into various diverse maritime aspects. However, because of COVID, of course, out of the window went our annual seminar. And we said, well, we can't have that. What shall we do? And therefore, we decided to have a series of webinars this year. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think it's worked really well. Because rather than have one seminar, we've really ended up by being able to have 4. And the second bonus was that we were able to attract some of the best well-known names in the industry internationally, across the board, depending on the subject matter that we decided on speaking about. And in fact, I really cannot end this series, which was the Fenech and Fenech Maritime series, Talks with the Industry, without thanking profusely those persons who actually did join us. The first webinar was the effect of Brexit on the maritime claims that was held in April. And I would like to thank Professor Charles de Battista from the head of 36 Stone in London. We had Mr. Neil Gibbons, who spoke on the effect of Brexit on P&I, who's a correspondent manager at Steamship Mutual. And we had Brexit and Freeport operations. We had Alex Montebello, the CEO of Malta Freeport. After Brexit, we then had another very topical subject during COVID, which was COVID-19 and the cruise line industry. And there we were privileged to have with us Mr. Domenico Ferrara, Legal Director of MSC. We had Dr. Michael Knauer, CEO of Sea Chefs. And we had Mr. Stephen Schwierer, who's the CEO of Valletta Cruise Ports. Third webinar, again, Talks with the Industry, was on a totally different matter, judicial sale of ships. And there we had Mr. Tilman Steen, who was the legal director, who is the senior director and senior counsel at Deutsche Bank, Christos Mangos, who was the CEO of Interunity, and Mr. Peter Lauritsen, legal director of CMB from Belgium, and Mr. Paul Palzon, the Malta International Transport Federation representative. So, as you can see, we had a real diverse number of 4 totally different subject matters, which attracted top panelists, for which we are very grateful, as top as the panelists were today. And in conclusion, I would like to thank all of those people who actually hooked on to our webinar and participated and heard us all. I would like to thank all of the moderators. Of course, there's a lot of preparation that goes into these webinars. So all the backup team.
You still get technical hitches sometimes.
We do get technical hitches.
But yes, we try.
And what we have planned for next year, perhaps, is to continue a variation of the same theme. because we felt that actually hearing the industry was added profile
Yes.
and added substance. And it's good for every one of us to hear what the various members of the industry are saying. So with that, I will conclude. I would like to thank you all on behalf of Fenech and Fenech. I would like to wish you a very, very happy Christmas. And May 2020 and May 2022, Omicron and all, be a better one, hopefully, than 2021.
Thank you, Anne, for your words, and have a very happy Christmas. And take care, and hope to see you soon.
Watch
Thank
the
you.
space.
Watch the space.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, happy Christmas.
Bye. Happy Christmas. Bye.
Buon Natale.